OmniRoute claims up to 95% token savings over standard inference, and LM Studio runs the whole thing on your machine for $0. That's a pretty wild gap to put side by side. AI tool costs are climbing fast, so I ran LM Studio against OmniRoute across 5 head-to-head tests to see which one actually fits your workflow. The cost test ends in a tie, but there's one dimension still ahead that could flip your whole decision, and it's not the one most people check first. My name is Brian, and I'm in these tools 12 hours a day, so you don't have to be. And every number here is traced back to the official docs and pricing pages. Both companies actually publish. This one's for anyone running local models or juggling multiple API providers and watching token costs eat into their budget every single month. Test 1. Cost. A solo dev hitting 10 million tokens a month on a tight budget knows this pain really well. The API bill lands, and it's way bigger than you planned. LM Studio runs local models at literally $0 per token. OmniRoute is MIT licensed and free to self-host, but it also claims to cut your cloud token spend by 15 to 95% through compression. Both tools are free to start, LM Studio for local inference, OmniRoute as an open source gateway. LM Studio's cloud rates run from $0.95 to $3 per million input tokens if you go cloud. OmniRoute skips that entirely because it uses your own provider keys. The 15 to 95% savings claim is stated on their site, though, so I tested on your own traffic before counting on it. The gap here is smaller than it looks on paper. If you're running local models on your own hardware, LM Studio costs you nothing, and there's no compression needed. OmniRoute's savings only kick in when you're paying a cloud provider per token, so the two tools aren't really competing on cost. They're solving different problems for different setups. Cost is a tie. Both score a 9 out of 10 on free tier availability, which kind of surprised me. I was expecting OmniRoute's compression angle to pull it ahead, but the free baseline is identical. Running tally: 0 for LM Studio, 0 for OmniRoute, with one test tied. Test 2. Coding benchmark performance. A developer trying to pick the right local model for a Python refactor has a real problem. There's no easy way to know which open model is actually best for code without running it yourself. LM Studio gives you a benchmarking tool to test models on Python, JavaScript, and Java. OmniRoute skips benchmarking entirely and just routes you to 268 providers with 500 plus models already available. What surprised me here is that neither product publishes its own coding benchmark scores. I couldn't find a single head-to-head number from either company. LM Studio gives you the tool to run your own evals on local models. OmniRoute integrates with 16 plus coding agents, including Claude Code, Codex, and Cursor, through one config. But neither one hands you a scorecard you can compare directly. No winner here. Call it a draw. I came in expecting at least one side to have some published coding scores, but neither does, so I can't give either one the point. Tally stays at 0 for LM Studio, 0 for OmniRoute, with two tests now tied, and they're just doing different jobs in the coding space. Test 3. Speed. 8 milliseconds. That's what OmniRoute claims for switching to a backup provider the moment your primary quota runs out. If you're running an agent that hits a rate limit mid-task, and your tool just stops and throws an error, you lose time and sometimes lose the whole run. LM Studio doesn't have fallback routing at all. It's running one local model on your hardware. So the speed question is completely different. I couldn't find a published tokens per second figure for either product. OmniRoute's 8ms fallback claim is stated on their site and not independently verified. LM Studio's speed depends entirely on your local hardware, so there's no single number to compare. And these two tools aren't measuring the same thing when it comes to speed, which makes a direct comparison pretty much impossible. Speed is a draw too. OmniRoute's 8ms claim looked like it might earn a partial win, but without independent verification and with no comparable metric from LM Studio, there's no honest way to score this one. That's 3 tests tied now. LM Studio still at 0 wins, OmniRoute still at 0 wins. So we're 3 tests in with nothing separated yet. But context limits and deployment setup are still ahead, and those two dimensions are where these tools actually split apart in a way that could completely change which one fits your workflow. The context test especially, because the gap there is way bigger than most people expect, and it's fully verified. Test 4. Context and output limits. 400,000 tokens, that's OmniRoute's documented context window in its codex config. If you're feeding a large codebase into a model and it cuts off halfway through because the context window is too small, your whole run fails and you have to chunk it manually. LM Studio tops out at 256K for specific models like QN3 Coder 30B, which is solid, but it's not 400K. OmniRoute's codex configuration is documented at 400K context and 65,536 output tokens. LM Studio's context is model dependent, ranging from a typical 4K to 32K and up to 256K for certain models. Both let you configure limits, but OmniRoute's documented ceiling is higher, and this one is verified from the actual config docs, not just a claim on a marketing page. OmniRoute takes context and output limits, scoring 8.5 to LM Studio's 7. The gap is real and verified, and I was expecting this to be closer, but 400K against 256K is a meaningful difference if you're working with large codebases. That puts OmniRoute on the board. LM Studio 0, OmniRoute 1, 3 still tied. Test 5. Deployment and modality. A non-developer who just wants to run a local model and chat with it doesn't want to open a terminal and run npm install commands. But a developer building a multimodal pipeline needs access to image, audio, video, and search providers all at once. LM Studio is a GUI-first desktop app. OmniRoute needs npm and a terminal. Both support headless server deployment, but their modality coverage is very different. LM Studio scored an 8 on ease of setup. It's a desktop app. You install it, you pick a model, you start chatting. No terminal needed. OmniRoute scored a 6 on setup because it requires Node.js 22 or 24 and an npm install. Flip to modality breadth, and OmniRoute scored a 9 to LM Studio's 5 because OmniRoute supports 104 MCP tools and providers across 8 modalities, including audio, image, and video. These two tools aren't really competing for the same user here. LM Studio wins on setup simplicity for someone who doesn't want to touch a terminal. OmniRoute wins on breadth for a developer who needs multimodal pipelines. Both support headless deployment for servers, so if that's your only requirement, it's a clean tie, and neither one has an edge. Deployment and modality is a tie overall, because each tool wins on a different subdimension. OmniRoute's 104 MCP tools look like they'd push it over the top, but LM Studio's setup advantage balanced it out. Final tally. LM Studio 0 wins. OmniRoute 1 win. 4 tests tied across 5 dimensions. LM Studio wins on simplicity and privacy. It's a GUI-first desktop app, no terminal, no config files, just install and run. Local voice transcription stays entirely on your device. 0 data leaving your machine. You get a model discovery browser that searches Hugging Face inside the app and shows you which quantizations actually fit your RAM. And for non-developers, it's the cleaner path. OmniRoute wins on scale and routing. One OpenAI compatible endpoint covers 290 plus providers and 500 plus models, so you're not wiring each one separately. Token compression claims up to 95% savings with roughly 1.4 billion free tokens per month across providers. Fallback switching across 268 providers happens in 8 ms when a quota runs out, and 16 plus coding agents like Claude Code and Cursor work through a single config. Alright, so here's the honest call. 4 out of 5 tests tied, which tells you these tools aren't really fighting each other. If you need local, private, zero-cost inference with a friendly GUI, LM Studio is your pick. If you're routing to 290 plus providers and want that 95% token savings claim working for you, OmniRoute wins. 1 win, 4 ties. The tool that fits is the one that matches your setup. If OmniRoute's multi-provider routing angle got you curious, you're going to want to watch my video on Allama versus Claude Code. It's the same local versus cloud question, but with a coding agent in the mix, and the results are pretty interesting.